All right, let's stay with the news around the former president, Jacob Zuma. Let's get reaction now from the ANC Veterans League, and we're joined by its president, Dr. Snuki Zikalala. Dr. Zikalala, thank you very much for your time. Of course, the overriding question here is whether or not the former president should be sent back to jail on the back of reports this morning suggesting that the former president could possibly be in Russia for medical treatment. Are you aware of his whereabouts?
No. Good morning, Polly, and good morning to your viewers. No, unfortunately, we are not aware of his whereabouts, and we have not been in touch with him. But I would say, as the Veterans League, it's really unfortunate that the Constitutional Court on Thursday rejected his appeal. And then, of course, what else can we do? And so we believe in the rule of law, and if he's found not to have, if it was found by the Constitutional Court that the Constitutional Services made a mistake by granting him a reprieve, it's what else can we do? As veterans, we don't celebrate the demise of any of our leaders. And but at the same time, we are saying that the rule of law must apply to everybody in the country, because if you don't do that, there will be anarchy. That there are certain individuals who get special treatment, and if individuals commit any crime, they do not commit that crime representing the organization. They commit that crime as individuals because they joined the organization as an individual. And so he's the one who decided not to appear in the Zondo Commission. And of course, that is why he was sentenced to 15 months imprisonment. And so there's nothing that we can do as veterans, but only to sympathize with him and to say that it's unfortunate at this age he may be forced to go back to prison, which is very unfortunate at this age. But there's nothing else we can do, because the rule of law must apply to every individual, to every citizen in this country. We live in a constitutional democracy.
All right. And so I'm trying to get a sense of where the Veterans League stands. Are you saying that if indeed it is the ultimate decision of correctional services to readmit the former president back into prison, then that will be that? He should go and serve time, because the Supreme Court of Appeal said the time was not spent which he was sentenced for.
Well, we don't have an authority to intervene on any law, on any issues, or on any issues that relate to law enforcement agencies or to correctional services. We don't have authority to intervene. We live in a constitutional democracy. If he has to go back to prison, that's why we are saying it's unfortunate that it has come to this end. And what else can we do as Veterans League? I think he should have preempted this to know very well that if it defies a court ruling, there will be consequences. Because the only thing that we need in this country, especially among senior people in government, the African National Congress, is a question of consequences. People must know that consequences have to be there if a person has defied or did not uphold his constitutional mandate in the country itself. And so I think it's so bad that it has come to this end, but there's nothing that we can intervene. We don't have an authority to intervene on what the law enforcement agents are doing.
All right.
They are independent institutions, and so there's nothing else we can do.
In a second, Dr. Zikalala, I'll come to what has been termed by one of the political party leaders as an administrative bungle by correctional services. We'll come to that in a moment. But what you seem to be saying quite clearly is that if the former president is to go back to jail, well, that is part of the consequences he has to live with, given what he has done. Let's talk about then what your message will be to those who are going to perhaps try and rev up the people who say he can't go back to jail.
Well, as the Veterans League would appeal to members of society not to take any measures and not to be involved in any violence in terms of appealing that this rule must be rejected. And so I think we're appealing for calm in society, because that's the path we chose as South Africans. That's a part of constitutional democracy, that any individual who violates our constitutional democracy and who does not respect the rule of law, action must be taken against him. And so we are equal before the law, all of us. And so we request for that society must be calm and let the law take its course. And I'm sure even if he goes in there, he'll get parole, because looking at his age, I don't think that he'll be able to serve more than 15 months. But we really sympathize with him. At that age, we would not have loved to see him going back to jail. But if that's what the court says, there's nothing that we can do. Because we as Veterans League, we believe in ethical leadership, we believe in the rule of law, and that's what we fought for. That's what thousands of our people died for.
All right. So you've already invoked medical parole, that you're saying, given his age, he probably would be admitted into that program, so to speak. Who should be held accountable for this administrative bungle, if you want to call it that, Dr. Zikalala, because that's what the UDM leader, Bantu Olomisa, said yesterday, that there is absolutely no way that Arthur Fraser, who was the decision maker here, could overrule a medical parole board's advice, which said that the former president does not qualify for medical parole, he should stay in prison. He overrules that, but here's the interesting bit. Olomisa says there's no way that Fraser would have taken this decision without having consulted his minister, without having the minister informed the president, the current president, and without the president having informed his cabinet. So who's to be held accountable?
Well, I think Fraser should be held accountable because he was the head of correctional services. And so if he has taken that decision, he can't say I was instructed by the president of the country, I was instructed by the boss who's my minister. He must know exactly where he draws the line. Because if he himself has taken that position as an individual, then he must face consequences in as far as we are concerned. You can't blame cabinet. Cabinet does not interfere on issues that affect the judiciary. Absolutely does not. Neither does the president interfere on issues that affect the judiciary. He will never do that. And so I'm saying that Fraser himself, if he has to account, let him account for the decision that he has taken, because I think he's a seasoned administrator, he's a mature politician, and there must be no blame game here at all. That's what we believe in.
Well, let's just assume then that Arthur Fraser is contacted by someone like me, a journalist, to say, sir, this is the view on the ground, that you must account for the decision you took, and he's going to say, well, I'm not the Correctional Services main administrator anymore. There is a person in charge right now. That person must answer on my behalf. Do you think that will be a fair thing to do from his side?
Well, I don't know. I don't know what will he say, but he was the administrator then. And if he has taken that decision without consulting, and the medical aid board said it was a wrong decision. And so I think there is a board that said that's a wrong decision he should not have taken. But he decided, as the Director General of the Correctional Services, that he takes this decision. He must be held accountable for that. You can't blame anybody else.
Okay, Arthur Fraser must account. But let's talk political accountability now. The president, when this decision was made by Correctional Services, he is on record, Dr. Zikalala, as welcoming the decision, almost as if to say, phew, at least the possible consequences of this, you've just called for calm in society. We all know that former President Jacob Zuma is no ordinary human being. He's a former president of this country, which is why the Constitutional Court, when it initially sent him to jail, it said it needed to set an example, because there are those who are going to do copycat actions on the back of what he has done. So, my question to you is, surely President Ramaphosa and his administration must hang their heads in shame, at least, for welcoming such a decision, knowing full well that Arthur Fraser defied a team of medical experts who said their former president didn't qualify for this.
Well, I cannot speak for the president. He has a good team of lawyers and advisors. I think he should answer for himself. And so, in as far as we are concerned here, we as veterans, we believe in the rule of law. We believe in the ethical leadership. We believe that that any individual who step outside the law must be held accountable. It does not matter who it is. And so I think that question should be posed to the presidency. But in as far as we're concerned, we are saying we're saddened that the former president will be forced to go to prison. It's not our wish. But now, if he has violated the rule of law, what else can we do? Because we violate that as an individual. There is nothing else that we can do. And so what we are saying is not to say we welcome the decision, but at the same time we are saying the law must take its course. We believe in the rule of law as Veterans League.
Well, if we are equal before the law, sir, you should be saying we welcome the decision of the Constitutional Court. You can't say you don't welcome it, but at the same time, the person must face consequences for what is done.
All that we are saying is that it's unfortunate that it came to this, and if it's the Constitutional Supreme Court of Constitutional Affairs believe that he should go back to prison, what else can we do? There's nothing that we can do.
Dr. Zikalala, let's leave the conversation there. The president of the ANC Veterans League. Still to come.